Spiritual Direction from Dante, Avoiding the Inferno, a book by Father Paul Pearson of the Oratory, Canto 25. Topics: Work as an extension of ourselves, identity theft. Christians believe that we work not out of mere necessity in order to sustain our families and ourselves is a sort of necessary evil. We work as an expression of our humanity, a display of our own kind of creativity. After all, we are made in the image of a God who is a creator. When you take away what I have produced, you take away part of me. What I have made, what I have worked for, is an extension of me. That is why we call it property, what belongs or is proper to me. It is striking in the beginning of the canto that the thief is so violent in his opposition to God. We don't regularly think of sins against property as being so malicious. We might think that Fucci's rebellion against God is something peculiar to him personally. But Dante seems to have something more general in mind, something that ties the sin of the thief to this violent anger towards God. Dante's sympathy for the souls in hell has often been an obstacle, preventing him from deriving the full spiritual benefit intended from his journey. As Virgil frequently reminds him, pity isn't appropriate when souls are receiving the just consequence of their freely chosen actions. We are right to be horrified at the destructive power of sin, and we can be saddened at the senseless waste of human life and potential. But pity implies we think the souls are hard done by, and that is just wrong. But here, Dante does not struggle against misplaced pity. He's fed up with Fucci. The text suggests that Fucci's attitude towards God is what triggers Dante's strong reaction. But it certainly seems possible that Dante is moved even more by Fucci's spiteful prophecy about Dante's own political party in Florence. Far from pitying Fucci, Dante says that the snakes were friends to me. The serpents themselves seem to want to shut Fucci up, but certainly no more than Dante does. In line 13, Dante remarks that Fucci is the haughtiest soul against God in all of hell so far, even more so than Capaneus, the defiant blasphemer we met in Canto 14. And why does a thief deserve this dubious honor? Dante obviously has something more in mind when he thinks of stealing than merely an alienation of someone's material goods. In Dante's mind, stealing is a fraudulent version of violence against God. Being a thief is a sort of rejection of work, or human industry, as Dante calls it. In Canto 17, when he described the fate of the usurers, Dante had described this rejection of human industry as a sort of violence against God. See also the end of Canto 11, especially line 94 to the end, where Virgil explains the rationale for the organization of hell. The usurers rejected the nature God had bestowed upon them, and to reject nature is to reject the source of that nature, our Creator, and work is built into our nature. That is why man was given the task of working even in the Garden of Eden. What changed after the fall was not in the fact of work, but its burdensomeness. What we did before, as a pleasure in Eden, has become toilsome. This human industry is a gift from God and part of our nature, a way we imitate God by sharing in his activity, his dominion over material creation. The thief is not only deceitful, but also a violator of human industry. That helps to explain why Fucci seems to display so much anger towards God. Even a centaur named Sacus shares in this serpentine fate. He, too, was a sneak thief, one done in by Hercules. And like Fucci, Sacus was also violent and murderous, but his thievery is considered worse, more destructive to his humanity. That is why this centaur is not punished with the others in the river of blood. Identity theft is a constant threat in our increasingly digital age. A business's website is compromised, or our personal computer is hacked, and suddenly our personal identification, our private numbers, and passwords are in someone else's hands. They can now pass themselves off as us. But all theft is an issue of identity. The hidden identity of the thief and the stolen identity of the victim. The distinction between what is mine and what is yours is violated here. And line 40, this inability to recognize people here is an important theme. Identity, both hidden and lost, is a recurring image, central for understanding Dante's view of thievery. These sinners hid their own identity in order to commit their crimes undetected, and stole the identity of others by stealing the private property of others. Hidden identity is part of the reason for the darkness of this particular pit. Sneak thieves work under the cover of darkness. Here they are condemned to the darkness that they willingly use to their advantage on earth. In keeping with this spirit of secrecy, Dante learns the name of one of the sinners, only accidentally. It was a slip on the sinner's part, naming names. Dante signals Virgil by laying his finger to his lips to be quiet so that they can continue to eavesdrop on this conversation. Their covert listening is a way to break through the secrecy of this Malebolgia. The thieves didn't respect the privacy of their victims. In a sort of retributive justice, they don't deserve that their privacy should be maintained here. Dante gives a detailed account of what he now sees, in a scene reminiscent of Ovid's Metamorphoses. A serpent melds his identity with that of one of the souls. Neither nature is respected, and neither remains intact. They melt together like wax, forming something that is neither serpent nor man. Neither is what, or who, he was before. Saying, each former countenance was cancelled out. The image and perversion seemed both two and nothing. Line 76. This disrespect of a person's individual identity becomes an image of the sin punished here. Identity has been stolen from both the sinner and the victim. The attack of the serpent upon the man is disturbingly intimate. The description almost sounds like a rape. With thievery, our privacy is violated. Someone else has rummaged through our things that we intended no one else to see or touch, let alone take. This sense of evasion of what belongs to me, almost as much as the loss of material things themselves, is the wound caused by the thief. There is a violation of privacy which feels strangely physical. We cannot think about our home in the same way. We cannot feel safe and comfortable there anymore. Our domestic world is shattered by the intrusion of a thief. Another bizarre transformation happens, but the mechanics of it are quite different from the first. Instead of blending the identities, here we see a sort of exchange. A small serpent bites a man in the navel, and the two switch identities, which Dante and Virgil watch. The description is a literary tour de force that lasts most of the rest of the canto. But is it anything more than the opportunity for Dante to measure his abilities against the descriptions of metamorphosis offered by Lucan and Ovid? Or is it difficult to assign meaning to these transformations since they seem to be happening in a different way each time? But the precise metamorphosis is perhaps not so much the point. The focus of the imagery is that no one's identity is his own. It can be taken from him in any number of ways that appear almost random, and there seems to be nothing he can do to stop it. And why is this a fitting punishment for thievery? Private property is a divine right that enables us to be free to make our own decisions about how to live our lives. The right to life and the right to property are very closely associated because property gives us the means to live. This is why both violence against life and violence against property were punished together in the river Phlegethon in Canto 12. Our material goods truly belong to us. It is called property for good reason. It is proper to a person. It belongs to him and to him alone, and in a sense is part of his identity. This is partly why, when someone close to us dies, we want to have something that belonged to the deceased. It isn't just the material possession, at least not usually. It's that this thing belonged to the person that we loved. And by taking another's property with no thought of its rightful owner, thieves reject the boundary between what is mine and what is yours, and as a result, reject identity itself. This same lack of human respect that they displayed on earth is now their punishment. And so they have to watch as what belongs most intimately to them, their very appearance, is passed around from soul to soul in a macabre game of keep away. Here we have the hellish version of identity theft.